Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into something I think we all struggle with sometimes: motivation.
Yeah, for sure.
We're looking at a podcast all about health and motivation.
Okay.
And specifically, we're going to be looking at how this new platform called Revelio Medical might actually help people be more motivated to reach their goals.
Interesting. So it's all about like unlocking that potential.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
we all want, right?
Yeah.
To like feel driven and, achieve all the things we want to do. But
Yeah.
as we know, motivation can be super fickle.
Yeah, totally.
So how do we understand it better and harness it to actually work for us, not against us?
Yes. And that's what makes this deep dive so relevant to everybody listening, right?
Right.
Because the source that we're looking at today starts by defining motivation really simply as the drive to achieve your goals.
Okay.
But then it gets into the nitty-gritty of why is it so hard to maintain and what can we actually do about it?
Right. Because we all have goals,
Yeah,
but then sticking to them, that's the hard part.
exactly.
So I'm curious to see what they say.
Yeah. And that's where this platform, Revelio Medical, comes in. It's a digital health platform.
Okay.
But what makes it unique, I think, is that it's not just another like calorie tracker or workout app.
Right.
It's taken kind of a completely different approach.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're all about encouraging these small actions and sustainable habits.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, which is a really, I think, clever way to approach motivation.
Yeah, because you're not like setting these huge goals that you're never going to reach.
Yay!
You're kind of taking it step by step.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of feeling overwhelmed by these huge, daunting goals,
Right.
you're focusing on building momentum through these really tiny, achievable tasks.
Makes sense.
It's less intimidating. And like the source points out, it's much more likely to lead to lasting change.
I like that idea. So it's more sustainable.
Yeah,
You're not going to burn out after like a week.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they even incorporate gamification and rewards to make it even more engaging.
Oh, so like they're making it fun.
Yeah. So users earn these RevCoins for completing health-related tasks, like it's a game.
Oh, that's cool. So it's like you get points for doing healthy things.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So it's a way to kind of tap into that sense of achievement and, positive reinforcement.
It makes it like a challenge, almost like you're playing a game.
Exactly. And the source actually mentions a user who started by simply focusing on eating more vegetables.
Okay.
And they were earning these RevCoins, and that like positive feedback loop encouraged them to like expand their healthy habits.
So it's like it just motivated them to do more.
Yeah, eventually incorporating things like exercise and meditation. Like they started small with the vegetables and it led to other things.
Wow. That's really cool. So it's like a ripple effect.
Yes, exactly. And I love that they even have health mentors who provide personalized support
Oh, that's really good.
and keep users accountable, which is something I think a lot of us need.
For sure. Yeah. Having somebody there to keep you on track is so helpful.
Totally. And it's not just about the practical support either. There's something really powerful about having someone just believe in you and cheer you on.
Yeah, totally. It gives you that extra boost.
Yeah. Now, here's where the source really dives into the nuts and bolts of motivation, the brain science behind it.
Oh, okay. I'm interested to hear this.
Did you know that those small victories you achieve actually trigger the release of dopamine in your brain?
Oh, really? So like those small wins actually have a chemical effect?
Yes. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter
Uh-huh.
that plays a key role in the reward system of our brains.
Interesting.
It's released when we experience something pleasurable.
Okay.
And this is so crucial for understanding motivation because it's dopamine that helps reinforce those behaviors that lead to those pleasurable outcomes.
So basically it's like our brain is rewarding us for doing things that make us feel good
Exactly.
and that makes us want to do them more.
Yes. So it's not just about willpower.
Right.
It's about understanding how our brains are literally wired to seek rewards.
So we're kind of like programmed to feel good when we achieve something,
Yes.
even if it's small.
Exactly. So by consciously celebrating even small wins,
Uh-huh.
we're actually training our brains to associate those positive feelings with taking action toward our goals.
Okay, so it's like we're building a positive feedback loop.
Yes, exactly. And we're also building those neural pathways that make it easier to repeat those actions in the future.
So it becomes like a habit almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where I have a question. Wait, so does that mean if we're constantly berating ourselves for those inevitable slip-ups, are we actually reinforcing negative neural pathways?
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense that if you're always focusing on the negative patterns, you're going to be more likely to repeat those negative patterns.
Yeah, and make it harder to stay motivated.
Exactly. So I guess self-compassion is really important.
Yeah, and like focusing on the positive.
Right, because if you're always dwelling on like, oh, I messed up, you're just training your brain to associate those actions with negative feelings.
Right.
And you're less likely to want to repeat them.
So it's like we're kind of hacking our own reward system.
Exactly.
Right.
By understanding how dopamine and the reward system work, we can create strategies that work with our brains,
Yes.
not against them.
Instead of relying on willpower.
Right, which can be so hard.
Yes.
We're using science to our advantage.
I love that. This is really making me rethink how I approach my own goals. Instead of setting myself up for failure with these like massive, overwhelming to-do lists,
Right.
maybe I need to start celebrating those tiny wins along the way.
I think that's a great takeaway from this part of our deep dive, but there's so much more to uncover. We've talked about how Revelio uses these small wins and positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
But what about the broader implications for all of us? Regardless of whether we're using a platform like that.
That's what I'm curious about too. How can we apply these insights about motivation to our own lives in a practical way?
That's a great question. And that's precisely what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned.
Okay, so we've laid some groundwork for understanding how motivation really works.
Yeah.
And how tools like Revelio Medical kind of tap into those principles.
Right.
But now let's get down to brass tacks.
Okay.
What can you actually do with all of this information?
Yeah.
Like, what are the key takeaways that you can apply to your own life?
Yeah.
Whether you're trying to eat healthier, learn a new skill,
Right.
or just be more productive in general.
For sure.
So the source actually highlights 3 key takeaways that I think are really relevant.
Okay, I'll listen.
The first one builds on what we were just discussing.
Okay.
Starting small.
Okay.
And I mean really small.
Like how small are we talking?
Think about one tiny change you could make today.
Okay.
It could be as simple as drinking an extra glass of water,
Okay.
taking a 5-minute walk,
Uh-huh.
or even just writing down one thing you're grateful for.
Right.
The point is to just break down those mental barriers and prove to yourself that you can make positive changes,
Yeah.
no matter how small they might seem.
I like that.
Well,
So it's not about those like radical overnight transformations.
right.
It's about taking those tiny steps that build momentum,
Exactly.
and each one triggers that dopamine hit,
Right.
reinforcing those positive feelings.
Okay, so starting small is key.
Yeah.
What's the next takeaway?
The second one is all about support.
Okay.
The source emphasizes how important it is to have a mentor, an accountability buddy,
Mhm.
or even a supportive online community.
Right.
And when you think about it from a psychological perspective, it makes total sense.
How so?
Humans are social creatures.
Right?
We're wired for connection,
Uh-huh.
and having someone to share your journey with,
Yeah.
to celebrate those wins, to offer encouragement when you're struggling,
Right.
to hold you accountable
Yes.
can make a world of difference.
It's like having your own personal cheering squad
Exactly.
right there in your corner. Yeah.
Reminding you that you're not in this alone.
Right. And that can be so powerful, especially when you're facing those moments of doubt,
Oh, for sure.
when you just want to give up.
Yeah,
It's so helpful to have someone there to be like, come on, you can do this.
totally. Okay, so I've got starting small and finding support.
Yep. What's the third takeaway?
This one ties back to that dopamine loop.
Okay.
The source reminds us to celebrate our wins,
Okay.
no matter how small they might seem.
So like giving ourselves a mental high five for remembering to floss our teeth or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Each time you do that, you're reinforcing those positive pathways in your brain,
Right.
making it more likely that you'll continue to make progress.
Okay. I like it.
And let's be honest, who doesn't love a good high five, even if it's from ourselves?
That's true.
Okay.
So to recap, the 3 key takeaways are
Yep.
start small,
Number 1.
find support,
Number 2.
and celebrate those wins.
Number 3. There you go.
I think those 3 takeaways combined with the insights into how Revelio Medical leverages these principles
Yeah.
paints a pretty compelling picture of how we can all approach motivation
Right.
in a more sustainable and effective way.
I think so too.
It definitely challenges those old school ideas about motivation
Uh-huh.
being all about willpower and self-discipline,
Right.
which honestly, never really seemed to work for me.
Me neither.
This new approach is about working with our brains, not against them.
Exactly.
It's about understanding our own psychology and creating systems that support that.
I love that. It's like we're finally cracking the code on motivation.
Yes.
We're moving beyond those vague ideas of just try harder
Yeah.
and embracing strategies that are actually backed by science.
It's like we're taking control of our own motivational destinies.
Right. And it's not just about achieving specific outcomes either.
That's true.
It's about cultivating a mindset of positive change,
Yes.
where those small wins fuel bigger ambitions.
And maybe even more importantly, the journey itself becomes more enjoyable.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's not just about the destination. It's about enjoying the ride.
I like that.
Mm.
So if you're listening to this and thinking, man, I wish I was more motivated, remember, it's not some magical quality
Right.
that some people have and others don't.
It's not like you're born with it or you're not.
Exactly. It's a skill that can be learned and cultivated.
That's right.
And it starts with understanding how your brain works
Yeah.
and finding strategies that align with your own unique needs and goals.
Exactly. Like what works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
So it's all about finding what works best for you.
And remember those key takeaways.
Yes.
Start small.
Uh-huh.
Find support.
Yep.
And celebrate your wins.
Don't forget to celebrate.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
And hopefully you've gained some new insights into motivation
Yeah.
and how you can actually use it to achieve your goals.
Right. Motivation is not this mysterious force.
Right.
It's something we can understand and work with.
But as with any deep dive, we've only just scratched the surface.
Right. There's always more to learn
There's always more to explore.
about ourselves and how we can optimize our own motivation.
That brings us to our final thought-provoking question.
Okay, hit me.
If even small wins release dopamine and help build those positive neural pathways,
Right.
what tiny victory could you celebrate today to kickstart your motivation?
That's a good question.
It could be something as simple as making your bed,
Oh, yeah.
or tackling a task you've been putting off, or even just taking a few minutes for yourself to recharge.
Right.
Remember, every journey starts with a single step.
Yep.
What step will you take today?
Keep diving deepest,
Ah.
stay curious, and most importantly, stay motivated.
So we've uncovered so much about motivation, how it works, why it can be so tricky, and some tactics to make it work for us.
For sure.
But what about those times when we're just stuck? Does this new understanding of motivation offer any hope for those who've struggled in the past?
That's what's so encouraging about this shift in thinking.
Okay.
It actually offers a lot of hope
Okay.
for people who've felt discouraged or like
Right.
they just don't have the willpower.
Yeah.
It's not about blaming yourself
Right.
or feeling inadequate.
Yeah.
It's not about thinking, I just need more willpower.
Uh-huh.
It's more about looking at the strategies
Yeah.
we're using.
Okay, so instead of feeling defeated,
Right.
we can start asking, okay, what can I change about my approach?
Exactly.
What systems can I put in place to support myself better?
Yes. It's like we've been trying to climb a mountain
Okay.
without the right gear.
Yeah.
Now we're realizing there are tools and strategies we
Yeah.
can use to make the climb more manageable.
Okay, so tools like Revelio Medical,
Yeah.
but also these broader principles we've been talking about, like starting small, finding support, and celebrating those wins.
Absolutely.
And that takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It does.
If it's not about some innate quality we either have or don't have,
Right.
it means we can learn,
Exactly.
improve.
It becomes a process of
Yeah.
experimentation and self-discovery.
Okay.
You figure out what works for you,
Right.
what kind of support you need,
Uh-huh.
and how you can best leverage those dopamine hits
Yeah.
to your advantage.
Like we're taking control of our own motivational destinies.
I love that.
And it's not just about achieving specific outcomes.
It's about cultivating a mindset of positive change,
Okay.
where those small wins fuel bigger ambitions.
Yeah. And maybe even more importantly,
Yeah.
the journey itself becomes more enjoyable.
Exactly.
So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, I wish I was more motivated,
Yeah.
remember, it's not some magical quality
Right.
that some people have and others don't.
It's a skill
Yeah.
that can be learned.
Exactly. And it starts with understanding how your brain works,
Yeah.
and finding strategies that align with your own unique needs and goals.
Absolutely.
We've covered so much today,
I know, right?
and hopefully you've gained some new insights into the world of motivation
Yeah, I think this has been a really great deep dive.
and how you can use it to achieve your goals.
Absolutely.
But as with every deep dive,
Always more
we've only scratched the surface.
to explore.
Right.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our final thought-provoking question for today.
Okay, let's hear it.
If even small wins release that dopamine
Uh-huh.
and help build those positive neural pathways,
Right.
what tiny victory could you celebrate today
Mm,
to kickstart your own motivation?
I like that question.
So that wraps up another deep dive.
It does.
We've learned so much about motivation today,
Yeah, we have.
and we hope you've enjoyed this exploration as much as we have.
Absolutely.
Be sure to join us next time as we continue to dive deep into the fascinating world of health and wellness.
We'll see you then.